Hey guys! I apologize if I am not very energetic in this video. I am feeling not good today. I don't know if I'm getting sick or if it's just my normal not feeling well, but pretty tired and feel pretty crappy. So, with that said, today I want to talk about being your own advocate. When it comes to chronic illness, inappropriate sinus tachycardia, chronic allergies, basically any health-related thing where you're going to spend a copious amount of your time dealing with doctors, you have to be your own advocate, unless you are, under the age of 18 and have parents that will advocate for you. But at least for me, being 23, my mom does still go to all of my appointments with me and is there to hear what's going on and just to be able to give me advice, and sometimes she thinks of things that I don't think of. But with doctors, a lot of the time, especially when you're dealing with something chronic, something that goes on all the time, you know your body better than your doctor will, and you have the ability to do your own research at home and read testimonies and join support groups and figure out what has worked for other people and what you think might work best for you. So case in point, when I was still on beta blockers for my inappropriate sinus tachycardia to control my heart rate, at that time, I had a cardiologist and I had an electrophysiologist. My electrophysiologist was the one that had put me on this medication, put me on Pindolol, that was working amazing for me. My electrophysiologist had told me that for any medicine adjustments or anything like that, I could just go to my cardiologist that was in my town instead of driving a couple of hours to see him, my electrophysiologist. When I was on Pindolol and it was working really great, I noticed I had a breakthrough and the medicine had stopped working. So I called my cardiologist and I asked if I could up my dose. He told me no, told me that I had to switch medicines. I wasn't going to take no for an answer because I knew that that medicine was the medicine that I could function best on, that didn't make me feel horrible and that didn't have a ton of side effects. And the bottom line was I didn't want to change medicines. So instead of taking that no for an answer, I called my other doctor and asked if I could up my dosage. And they did. They upped it. It was no big deal. Don't know why my cardiologist made a huge deal out of it. I no longer see that cardiologist. I just see my electrophysiologist. But I've learned that being your own advocate when it comes to chronic illness is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. A lot of the times, if you think something is wrong or you think more tests need to be run, do not be afraid to dig your heels in and push for that. Your doctor may give you attitude. Your doctor may act like you're undermining them or like you don't agree with their college degree. But a lot of the times, you have to push for those tests and you have to advocate for yourself, because otherwise you won't get answers. So that is one of the huge reasons that being your own advocate and pushing for what you think needs to be done is extremely, extremely important. Because if not, say in my case, you'll be having all of these issues and you'll be having high heart rate and low heart rate, or you'll be feeling horrible all the time and your doctor will tell you to wait. And if you don't push that and you don't say, well, I don't want to wait because it's 23. I'm 23 and it's stealing my life. Or I feel horrible all the time. I can't function. If you don't push for that, then you're not going to get those answers and you're not going to get that progress. Never be afraid to push for that and advocate for yourself. When it comes to advocating for yourself, also do not be afraid to go get a second, a third, a fourth opinion. Don't be afraid to go to one doctor, take in what they have to say, and then turn around and go to another doctor. Getting multiple opinions before jumping into something, before taking what the first doctor had to say about it, is helpful. It helps you learn and it helps you know what is best for you and what the best path is to take. I also highly recommend doing your own research at home and figuring out, are there herbal supplements I can take? Are there diet changes I can make? Are there natural medicines I can take as opposed to taking the beta blockers? Are there other chronic illnesses that could be causing what I'm dealing with that no one has explored yet? Because in my experience, a lot of doctors will not branch out and check for other things. My friend who has IST like I do, she has a couple of other things as well, has suspected that she's had POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, for a while now. But her doctors just kind of never branched out to look into that, and it took her going to the ER with a horrible tachycardia attack and chest pain and all of this other stuff to even get a preliminary diagnosis for that and get a referral to a specialist, because her doctors wouldn't branch out. Which is why it is so, so, so important to advocate for yourself and to push. Don't take no for an answer. Don't just take what they tell you and run with it. If the video looks a little different, it's because apparently at some point my camera stopped recording and I didn't know it until I was done recording the video. So let's hope I don't repeat myself too much, and I apologize if I do. But I think what I was saying is just that, like with my friend, it took her showing up in the ER with a horrible tachycardia attack to get that preliminary POTS diagnosis, because her doctors wouldn't branch out. They wouldn't look into other things. They just took the IST diagnosis and said that's what you have, and never looked at anything else that could be an underlying cause or an underlying chronic illness that could be causing the tachycardia, which is why it's extremely important to do your research and to push and to dig your heels in and to advocate for yourself, because a lot of doctors won't branch out. They take the diagnosis you've been given and they run with it, and they're not going to look left or right to see, these levels are off, or this count is low, or these other symptoms. They're not going to look at that because you have this diagnosis, which is why doing your own research and presenting your doctor with, I've found these things, or I want these levels checked because I'm concerned about X, Y, and Z, is good, because it causes them to have to look outside of that bubble of, well, this is your diagnosis, so why would we look at that? And most good doctors should not give you any trouble whatsoever running extra blood work or doing more tests. And if they do, I'd say it's time to go get a second or a third opinion, because I found that putting up with doctors like that doesn't get you anywhere, and you owe it to yourself to not just stay with a doctor that's not willing to consider other things, especially with something like IST that is so extremely debilitating and prevents you from doing so much. You owe it to yourself to do that research and to push and to dig your heels in until you get the answers that you need. And so my biggest piece of advice is to advocate for yourself, because you deserve answers. You deserve to know what's going on, and you deserve to have a doctor put the effort in to find out what's wrong, especially considering inappropriate sinus tachycardia is a very generic diagnosis that essentially means you have inappropriate sinus tachycardia. We have no idea why you're having a tachycardia, which is why we call it inappropriate. We're not going to run any tests to figure out why you have it, but you have it, and that's the diagnosis we're giving you. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve a generic diagnosis. You deserve to know what's going on with your body and how you can fix it, which is why doing your own research is so extremely important. Researching everything from herbal supplements to different medicines you can take, to exercise, to specialists, to chronic illnesses, to autoimmune disorders. I mean, there's a whole world of things that you can explore and research to figure out what's going on with your body, what could be the underlying cause, and how can you fix it, or how can you help your doctor fix it. Again, not sure if I said this earlier in the video because it stopped recording, but while I respect that my doctor has done 12 years of college and has a degree in that, I do think that a lot of times doctors can be kind of closed-minded and not want to branch out and research other things or look into other things, which is why I recommend doing your own research. I respect them and I respect their knowledge, but I do also think that a lot of times they miss things, and it's good to do your own research, know what you're going into, know what's best for your body, and to push for that. And to not be afraid to push for it, to get other opinions, to try herbal supplements, to join support groups, to get opinions, to read testimonies. None of that stuff will hurt you. I mean, when it comes to taking herbal supplements and stuff, I would research it, and if you're unsure of how it's going to affect your body, if you can't find any personal testimonies on that, or enough research on it, go ahead and, ask your doctor. It doesn't even have to be your cardiologist. You could just ask your PCP or whatever. But a lot of times doctors aren't going to recommend herbal supplements or things like that, just because it's not, unless you're going to a naturopath, it's not something they usually recommend. But it can't hurt. Natural things can never hurt, and everything is good in moderation, and you owe it to yourself to try what you can to make yourself feel better. I think a lot of times, I don't want to say people are afraid, but I don't think that people put as much weight into trying to figure things out on your own. Yes, I think that it is super important to have guidance from a doctor, but at the same time, trying herbal supplements, changing your diet, exercising, changing your sleep habits, making a less stressful life at home, all of those things are important things that can help improve what you're going through. So my biggest advice would just be to advocate for yourself, dig your heels in, don't take no for an answer, and you owe it to yourself to figure out what's going on with your body. Even if a doctor won't, keep finding new doctors, keep going to new doctors, keep pushing until you have the answers that you need to feel peace about it. So I think that's all I have for tonight. My brain is starting to not work because I'm tired, not feeling too hot. But I really hope that someone got something out of this. My whole goal with this entire video series is to kind of build a community around IST and what goes on and chronic illness, because I know that at least with IST there's not a huge community around it. It's been extremely difficult to find people my age that are going through the same thing as me. I have my friend Parker, but I didn't really find her because I've known Parker since I was like 3 or 4. I don't know. It's been my entire life that I've known Parker, so she's basically family. So, but other than her, we haven't really found anyone that struggles with IST the same way that we do, and goes through what we do. And so there's not really much community around it, which gets extremely isolating and extremely lonely. So I really hope that someday when some young girl or guy or anybody gets diagnosed with IST and they go out and they start researching it, that somehow they'll stumble across these set of videos and they'll feel less lonely, and they'll feel like they can conquer it and like they're ready for this challenge, and just to feel some hope from it, because I know that it becomes a very hopeless situation and it becomes very discouraging and very exhausting. But I'm here and I'm pushing through it, and I'm going through the same thing that you are, and it gets better. Maybe not the IST, but the mindset and how you deal with it does get better. It gets a little bit easier. You still have bad days and it still is hard, but advocate for yourself, dig your heels in, and just keep going. Don't give up, because the second you give up is the second you're going to become completely defeated, and that doesn't help anything. So just keep going and have a good day. And all of you who have watched this and shared it and liked it, Thank you. It means a lot to me. And hopefully it'll help extend my reach to people that need that support in that community. And I hope you all had a great day and are going to have a great night. And I hope you'll stick around for my next video. So thanks, guys. See you all in the next video.